Y'all, welcome back to another fun day of world cultures. Today we're going to be talking about world governments. One question everybody always asks is, why in the same heck do we need government for in the first place? Wouldn't we better be better without it? Well, not really. Look at the purge. When people do what they want to do, that's kind of what happens, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Are there people who are law-abiding and would continue to live moral lives and do good things? Absolutely. But there are still enough that break the law, even with the laws, and knowing that they might get caught and have consequences. What would they do if there were no consequences or if there were no laws? So we have to have the safety and behavior control. We have to have the laws and regulations. Imagine what our planet would be like if there was no regulations on businesses pumping pollution out into the sewage or into the water, the lakes, or just the land around us, right? And to enforce society's laws. There are two basic forms of government, and all other ones fall under them. You have an autocracy or a democracy. In autocracy, the people do not participate, and it comes under one of these five. You have a dictatorship, an absolute monarchy, an oligarchy, a theocracy, or totalitarian regime. In a dictatorship, one person is in control. This is a pretty good little saying here. In a democracy, you believe it or not, and nobody cares, right? In a dictatorship, you believe it or else. You do what dear leader tells you to do, because if you don't, you die. Or you go to Siberia or wherever the prison camps are. Usually has the military backing them. Modern day dictators, Bashar al-Assad in Syria. I'm not going to read all of this on here, but he's not a good guy. None of these are. Lil Kim in North Korea. Question is he really alive or is he dead and this is a copy? What was the old saying? Is it live or is it Memorex? Yeah. Because there's a rumor, I don't know if you know about this or not, but there's a rumor going around, has been going around for a couple of years now. Kim dropped out of the public eye for a few months, and everybody's like, where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at? What's going on? Well, supposedly he was having surgery. He had a medical issue. The rumor is that he actually died during this medical procedure and that it is a body double that is pretending to be him now, because there's some differences between the way he is now and the way he was then. Dennis Rodman kind of gave credence to this because he said, if you ever hear of things coming from Kim's sister, then you know that things are not right there. Wasn't but a couple of months after that, and Lil Kim had this medical emergency, that Kim's sister started putting out a lot of information. And she still does. So, is he alive? Is he dead? Who knows, right? Dictatorships, there's advantages to them. People can be united since there's only one ruler. There's no time wasted debating during an emergency as to what you should do or what you should not do. There's no argument. Like if they need a new road built, a new road gets built. If they need a law passed about people driving without a license, there's a law passed about people driving without a license. There's not any debating going on about it. Disadvantages, people don't have a lot of civil rights. The needs of the people may be neglected. In fact, usually in dictatorships, people die of starvation because they're not being fed. There's not growing enough food. And decisions don't have to be supported by the people. Whether you like it or not, it happens. In an absolute monarchy, the king or queen has control of the government. Power is passed from the parent to the child, preferably to a male child. Now, I have a problem with these pictures here because this is of Britain. Henry VIII was an absolute monarch. Elizabeth II was not. Britain currently has a constitutional monarchy, and their power is limited. They basically have no power. They're kind of like the president of the US. They're basically just a figurehead. Modern day monarchies. I have no idea why this thing isn't working. In Oman, you've got Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said. Swaziland, King Mswati III. UAE, Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. What are the advantages? You know who your leader is. You know who your next leader is going to be. The decision making is within them. It's one thing to do. Kind of like a dictatorship, There's no argument over what's going to be done. Disadvantages: you can't work your way into leadership. You can't be voted into office. You can't end up taking over from the military, whatever. You're an easy target for assassination. There's only the one person in control, and you know who the next person is going to be in control, and the next person, and so on down the line. It's easy to knock them off. And then there's disputes over blood ties. If the king or queen dies without a child, who's going to be the next king or queen? In an oligarchy, power is in the hands of a small group. Together, they act as a dictator would, like in Russia. Leave thinking to us, right? There are arguments that the U.S. is an oligarchy, not really a democracy anymore, because you have Congress who is really in charge. And who's in charge of Congress? But the people who pay them. And I don't mean as in their salaries and taxpayer money. I'm talking about the special interest group that ends up giving them money, right? Modern day oligarchs, we have President Xi, the Communist Party of China. Yeah, I'm not going to get a Chinese government right now, but we'll talk more about that when we get into Asia. Russia should be on there as well. Russia technically is an oligarchy. Advantages: decisions can be made quickly. There's more than one person making the decision. They are educated people, and they cooperative rule. Disadvantages: like in all of them, not a lot of civil rights. The needs of the people may be neglected, and doesn't matter if the people like it or not. In a theocracy, it is government ruled by divine guidance, by the church, or by the Dalai Lama, or by the imam, or whoever. Usually one or multiple men rule or advise the leaders. Modern day theocracies today are in Iran. They do have some people who are elected, but the supreme leader is the religious leader. The advantages of a theocracy are more regulation. The people follow those laws because they believe in them. They believe that they come from a higher power, right? And it unites them. Disadvantages is lack of religious freedom. If you don't worship the way they tell you to worship, you die. It could hinder freedoms. Not could. They do. Look at women in some of these countries. And limits potential leaders. And totalitarian governments, government controls every aspect of a person's life. For example, Hitler's Germany, Mao Zedong's China. There's been other times in life that there have been totalitarian leaders that have controlled everything. Today, Lil Kim in North Korea, for sure. I would argue that his is a totalitarian government. A couple of the governments in Africa, we could make the argument for that as well. Advantages: decisions are made for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it, right? Equality, because everybody's the same. Everyone has the same limitations. Disadvantages: limited speech, limited civil rights, and there's little room for independence and authority opportunities. In a democracy, we have three kinds: direct, representative, and republic. In a direct democracy, all people vote. You gather in one place, you talk about it, and you vote. In ancient Greece, they used a white stone and a black stone. And depending upon, I don't remember if it was yes was white or black was white, but black was yes, sorry. But they would put in those colored stones, and whichever colored stone there was the most of, that was the one that won. Now, direct democracies work really well for small numbers of people, but they don't work well for larger numbers of people. And that's when you have a republic. The citizens choose their leaders, okay? Referred to as a country without a monarch. Yeah, kind of. But we choose who our leader is going to be. And in a representative democracy, we elect officials to represent us and to vote as we would like for them to vote. Everybody's allowed to participate, but it doesn't have the same number of problems. Problem is, your representative doesn't always listen to you because right now they're too busy listening to the people putting money in their pocket. Advantages: decisions are made by the people. Equality, because people have the same limitations, and civil rights are protected. The disadvantages: decisions take time, years. There are some things that could have been improved 20, 30 years ago, and they still haven't made a decision on them. Leaders change frequently. In our country, the president changes out no more than every 8 years, right? Sometimes having leaders in for a longer time is good. Sometimes it's not, particularly when there's an opportunity for corruption. You really don't want them in there for very long, hence the need for term limits. Anarchy has no government. You don't want anarchy. You really don't. What form of government do you think might be best? There's advantages to all of them. There are disadvantages to all of them. I'm curious what you think is best. Assignments today, don't forget to do your attendance assignment. Also, we have a Google form that's got 10 things listed, and you need to choose whether they are for a monarchy or democracy or whichever, okay? If you have any questions, make sure you let me know.